Alright, hello everyone, this is Gundam Ace, aka John Hooper. I'm here with my streaming of Secret Game, Killer Queen. I streamed yesterday, but due to some various issues, it seemed to be related to the resolution I had the last video stream at. It came out extremely fragmented and missed several crucial parts. So I decided to just delete the old stream archives and just redo this one again. So if you were here yesterday, it's going to be a repeat of what you saw yesterday. But for those watching the archive version, this is just my second redo. So we'll just so last time we began episode 4, which I missed the beginning of showing the title of, which is the only neat thing to do. And in it, Soichi woke up as usual and met a girl named Yuki, and he left with her and managed to find Sakumi. Although she was doubtful of them at first, she seemed to have grown to trust them, and so now they're going together. We also got a glimpse of the casino where the people behind the game are running the thing and where the customers of the casino are. And they seem to know something odd, but didn't think much of it, so we'll see where it leads from there. So we'll pick up right off where they left off, where they left the room with Sakumi. Also, Also, since the last time, I did get someone who requested to place a bet, so I'm going to do it now since no one else has. They want to place full bet on Yuki. So there we go. Okay. This means if Yuki survives the end of the route, we get 1,000 chips. Okay, so here we go. I see. Pulling it that way, I can't think this is anything but a joke. Sakumi tapped away at her PDA as she, Soichi, and Yuki made their way down the hallway. I know, right? Who do they think they're fooling? If you're gonna lie, come up with something more believable. Soichi watched from behind as Yuki chatted up a storm with Sakumi, darting back and forth around the older girl. Yuki seems calmer having another girl around. Good, we made the right call. A tranquil lull swept over Soichi's heart as he watched the two of them. No matter how friendly Yuki had been, she was still just a little girl. Hold on 1 second, I just want to check something. Quick audio test. Okay, we're working. Okay, it's all good. Alright, let me continue. So let's go back to the line previously just to make sure, so I have the context again. See, no matter how friendly Yuki had been, she was still just a little girl. Not only was she more at ease having an older girl around, there were things she could talk to Sakumi about she couldn't with Soichi. Yes, you're right. Sakumi replied in the form of a smile. Sakumi must also feel a lot more relaxed with Yuki here. You could say the same about Sakumi as he had for Yuki. Had she been alone with Soichi, it was likely Sakumi would still be trembling with fear. Alright, big sis Sakumi. Forget about that, there's something else I want to ask. Yuki regards Sakumi's PDA suspiciously as she poked the older girl several times. Sakumi turned to her with wide eyes. What's that? Do you have a boyfriend? What? Sakumi's face froze up on the spot. on, you can tell me. No harm done, right? Yuki's eyes were glimmering with rapt interest.
どうしてそんなことを聞くんですか?
What brought this question on?
だってさくみお姉ちゃん美人だし、恋人が一人や二人いるんじゃないかなって。
Well, since you're so pretty, I figure you've gotta have a boyfriend or two, you see? Sakumi was overwhelmed by Yuki's pressure. She brought a hand to her cheek with an embarrassed grin.
お兄ちゃんだって知りたいよね。
Don't you want to know too, big bro? Wait, what? Why me? The sudden shift in the conversation left Soichi flat-footed. He'd been so caught up in the jovial atmosphere they hadn't seen it coming.
だってさっきからお兄ちゃん、さくみお姉ちゃんのことを気にしてるんだもん。
Because you can't keep your eyes off her. What? Sakumi turned to Soichi with wide eyes akin to a doe. Shoot. It really is hard not to stare when the two of them look so much alike. Well, of course I can't, Yuki. There's only 3 of us, so I have to keep an eye on you guys just to make sure nothing bad happens to you. Soichi fibbed. Yuki's cheeks puffed up at Soichi's lie.
つまんない。
Aw, that's lame. What do you mean lame?
答えが優等生すぎるよお兄ちゃん。
I mean you're such a killjoy, big bro. Yuki's cheeks swelled with a frown as she pointed at Soichi. Hey, I'm just being honest. Nothing you can do about that.
本当っぽいからつまんないの。
And that's exactly why it's so lame. Sakumi started giggling at the scene.
じゃあゆきちゃん、みつるぎさんがもっとちゃんと私を見てくださるように頑張ります。
Okay then, Yuki. I guess I'll just have to work harder so Mitsurugi actually looks at me.
ってことはお姉ちゃん、恋人とかがいないんだ。
So you don't have a boyfriend, big sis?
はい。
Nope. Having regained her composure, Sakumi asserted without a hint of hesitation.
私は女子校に通っているので、そもそもそういう出会いがあまり多くないんです。
I go to a girls' academy, so I haven't really had the chance to meet that many candidates to begin with. She continued smiling.
もったいないね。
What a waste. What about you, Yuki?
私はまだそんなのいいんだよ。まだ子供だし。
Me? I don't need one of those yet. I'm still a child, you know.
じゃあゆうきちゃんは人の恋愛話には興味があるけど、自分はまだなのね。
So you're interested in hearing stories of love, but you've never been involved in any yourself?
実はそう。
Yeah, not yet. Yuki bashfully scratched her head.
じゃあさ、お兄ちゃんはどうなの？恋人いるの？
And what about you, big bro? You got a girlfriend? She didn't ask that question to disguise her embarrassment. But Soichi couldn't answer that right away. His gaze unconsciously drifted towards Sakumi. Sakumi tilted her head of confusion, making a puzzled frown. Once he saw that look on Sakumi's face, Soichi began to think. I already told you, remember? I don't have a girlfriend at the moment.
そっか。そういや振られたって言ってたもんね。失敗。
Oh yeah, you did say you got dumped, didn't you? My bad. Yuki scratched her head again. Oh, Yuki. Soichi was exasperated for a brief moment before a curious revelation hit him. Sakumi, who looks just like her. And a girl named Yuki. I never thought I'd ever be faced with a combination like that. Fate sure does work in some mysterious ways.
だったらゆうきちゃんが 恋人に。
Well then, Yuki, you also have to meet Tsurugi's girlfriend.
危ないお兄ちゃん。
Look out, big bro! Yuki screamed just as Sakumi was finishing her sentence, reverberating through the hallway. Yuki had noticed it by pure dumb luck. That Soichi's foot had sunk slightly into the floor the moment it made impact. He stepped right on the panel. Soichi lost some of his balance, but quickly got a bit of it back thanks to the quick moving of his knees and torso. A second later, the wall next to his head opened. But Soichi was too caught up in catching his balance to notice. Fortunately, Yuki had seen the whole thing. Look out, big bro! Yuki jumped forward without a moment's delay. A giant blade of sorts jutted out of the wall. As soon as she saw it, Yuki moved quicker than she could think. She reacted to the bad feeling that pierced her very soul. The blade mowed down towards Soichi's neck. But it simply cut through air, smashing into the opposite wall like a battering ram. The tips of the blade the tip of the blade smashed slightly against the concrete surface, sinking into the wall.
Mitsurugi-san! Yuki-chan!
Yuki had pulled Soichi down to the floor. Fortunately, as he'd been stumbling, it had proven to be a much simpler task than it normally would. What the? Soichi shook his head as he got up. Okay, I tripped on the ground and Yuki pulled me. What was that last thing I saw? Yuki was still holding Soichi tight. Whoa, what is this? Just then, Soichi spotted the blade burrowed into the wall. Chills ran down his spine. Yuki saved me from that? Soichi's heart started pounding like crazy. His composure was totally shattered. The blade had been perfectly level with his neck. You could tell just by looking at it. If it had been strong enough to burrow itself into the wall, there was little question something terrible would have happened to him had Yuki not noticed. It might not have decapitated him, but it would gravely wound him, no doubt.
大丈夫ですか？ Mitsurugi-san! Yuki-chan!
Mitsurugi, Yuki, are you guys okay? Sakumi came running over. All the blood had drained out of her face. Yeah, I'm alright. Yuki, are you okay? Ow. Yuki looked right up as Soichi helped her off the ground.
そうだ、お兄ちゃんの方は大丈夫なの？
Alright, big bro. What about you? Are you okay? Yuki's face contorted with worry when she saw Soichi's face. She patted his body down all over, checking him for wounds. I'm okay, Yuki. And it's all thanks to you.
そっか、よかった。
Oh, thank goodness. Yuki smiled with relief. Her shoulders heaved with a great big sigh. But it didn't take long for Yuki to scrunch her face and grab her nose. Now she wasn't worried about Soichi anymore. Her body remembered her pain.
お兄ちゃん、骨硬いよ。鼻思いっきり打っちゃった。
Hold on one second. turned to her with wide... And what about you, big bro? That Soichi's, Yuki looked right up his goodness. Okay, back. Just doing an audio check. Okay. Okay, your bones are really hard, big bro. I think I broke my nose on them. Tears well up in Yuki's eyes. She held her nose. It was throbbing red. But much to Soichi and Sakumi's relief, it didn't look like she was hurt anywhere else.
びっくりしました。二人とも無事でよかったです。
Phew, that scared me. I'm so glad you guys are okay. Sakumi flopped to the floor with an exhausted expression. Me too.
私もまさかいきなりあんなのが出てくるなんて思わないじゃない。
You can say that again. I never expect something like that to pop out. Oops. Yuki let her body relax and leaned on Soichi.
冗談にしてはひどすぎるよ。下手したら宗一お兄ちゃん死んじゃってたかもしれないよ。
That was way too extreme for a joke. Big bro Soichi could have died if that had gone wrong. Could have died. Yuki's words sent another shiver down Soichi's spine. Thank you so much, Yuki. You saved my life. Soichi repeated his gratitude. That was no laughing matter. Could this actually be... Soichi suddenly grew very uneasy. There was a possibility that this wasn't all just a prank. No one would have set up a trap like that for a mere joke. Not a deadly mechanism which could have killed someone. I don't want to consider it. Maybe we should be taking this more seriously? If the rules on the PDA turn out to be for real. After his near-death experience, those fears found themselves sprouting in Soichi's heart.
誘拐犯、そして罠。みつるぎさん、私たちは少し気を抜きすぎていたのかもしれませんね。
Kidnapping's in a trap. I think we may have been taking this too lightly, Mitsurugi. Sakumi looked right at Soichi without a hint of mirth. It seemed she'd come to the same conclusion as him. Her hands were crossed on her chest, trembling slightly. Yeah, you're right. We're playing right into the kidnapper's hands. You mustn't forget that. This trap has served as a stark message that the group were in the far more dangerous place than anyone could have imagined. No way. So he took hold of Sakumi's trembling hands. He kept his grip on Yuki. But Sakumi didn't stop trembling. The reason was simple. Because Soichi's hands were trembling too. Now that they were aware of the traps, Soichi and the others were moving considerably slower. They were keeping their eyes peeled for any other traps there may be. Man, I'm beat. Soichi flopped down in the middle of the hallway. Yuki and Sakumi seemed to be in similar straits as they turned to him and sat down.
これは疲れるよね。
Yeah, this is exhausting.
一瞬も気が抜けないわけですからね。
I guess this is like when you can't let your guard down for a second. The three of them took a break. They've been taking them more frequently since the trap. Keeping an eye out for those mechanisms that could cost them their lives had done quite a number on the group's mental fatigue. As Sakumi had said, they couldn't afford to let their guard down for a second while traveling.
これだけ頑張っても一個しか見つからないってのも問題だよね。
What's worse is they've been working so hard, but only found one of them. Yuki drew the path they traveled in her notebook. There are only 2 traps on her handwritten map so far. One of them was the one Soichi had triggered. The other was one they'd found right before they'd taken their break. That made 2 in total. It's not a stretch to say there's barely any traps. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. I don't know if I can keep focusing at this rate. The rate of traps is incredibly low. It's been 3 hours since Soichi and Yuki had started roaming these hallways. Yet they'd only found 2 traps in all that time. Well, if we let our guards down, we might trip another one, right? Sakumi frowned. Though it was tough to keep focusing on something they'd barely come across, the memory of Soichi's close call was still fresh. If they grew lax, they might not be so lucky the next time around. Hence why they'd grown exhausted. This would be so much easier if we at least knew where the exit was. That was another weight on the group's mind. In spite of all their searching, there was still no end in sight. None of them had any idea when they could, how long they'd have to stay tired for. Thus, the group's motivation was on a thin sheet of ice. Then why don't we try to figure it out, big bro Soichi? You kept looking, back and forth between, the PDA and her notebook. She was comparing the map on the PDA to the map she'd drawn up to this point. She'd been drawing every time they rested up to this point. Yeah, good thinking. Can I borrow your notebook, Yuki? Sure. Yuki held her notebook out to Soichi without a moment's delay. Soichi took it and grabbed out his PDA, turned it on. This should narrow it down quite a bit. By this point, Yuki's map was quite detailed. There were tons of candidates up to the last spot. This should limit the list considerably. Hold on. Since they traveled a considerable distance, there weren't many places where the PDA's map and Yuki's map didn't contradict. It could be either here or there, or either there or there. So we're down to 4 spots. But don't this spot and that spot not match up? Yeah, I don't think the shape of the rooms to the front match these 2. Sorry, my drawing sucks. So that brings it down to these 2, huh? In the end, they brought it down to 2 spots. There are many areas on the PDA map that looked alike, so it was hard to pinpoint their location. But bringing it down to 2 was great progress. Which do you think it is? Huh? Say, Mitsurugi, don't you think the spot close to there looks like an exit? Just then, Sakumi pointed to a spot on the map. You're right. Just as Sakumi had indicated, there was a hall depicted on the map that wasn't too far away. It's worth going there to see if the spot is the right one, don't you think? Even if we're wrong, at least know the other spot is the right one. Let's do it, big bro. Yuki cheerfully swung her PDA. After thinking for a moment, Soichi nodded. Yeah. If we manage to get out because of that, we'll all be in the clear anyway. Shouldn't do any harm, right? Soichi was a bit on edge because of the trap that nearly killed him. Didn't want anything bad to happen to Yuki and Sakumi, especially not on his watch.
じゃあもう少し休んでから出発しましょうか。
Let's get going after resting a little while longer. Does that sound good? Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. Soichi and Yuki nodded at Sakumi's proposal. The hall was much bigger than the map had led them to believe. He drove home how gargantuan the rest of the building had to be if the map were true. That's why Soichi's group reacted with surprise when they finally reached it.
本当にあったね。
It really was here. Yuki gasped as she looked around the hall. As the smallest of the group, she was much more keenly aware of the room's size than Soichi or Sakumi. Sakumi! Yuki! Over here! Soichi called out to his companions from an area that looked like an exit.
ゆきちゃん、みつるぎさんが呼んでます。
Yuki, Mitsurugi's calling for us. Right. Yuki nodded and quickly followed Sakumi over to Soichi.
お姉ちゃんの言う通りだったね。
You were right, big sis. Yuki said that Sakumi as they walked over.
ええ。でもこの暗さ、本当に出られるのかどうか。
Yes, but it's so dark in this place. I don't know if we can actually get out from here. Sakumi looked around the hall. Just as she said, it was mostly dark. Her watch said it was around 1 p.m. Yet there was no light streaming in from the exit. The hall had electric lighting just like every other place in the building, but thanks to the room's sheer size, no spot looked any brighter than another. Why aren't there any windows here? It'd be the perfect spot.
窓。そうだお姉ちゃん。今まで私たち一個も窓を見てないよね。
Windows. Oh yeah, now that I think about it, we haven't seen any windows so far, have we, big sis?
そういえば。
You're right. Sakumi's eyes widened. This place is so big, yet there hasn't been a single window. Is it the same here? Calm down, guys. Look at this. Doesn't seem like we're getting out through here. Sakumi's fears were confirmed by Soichi.
どうしたんですか？
What do you mean? Sakumi and Yuki ran over to Soichi, who was pointing to the wall right next to him. Part of it was covered by a giant glass door. They couldn't see anything on the other side. Not even a single streak of light streaming in.
お姉ちゃん、シャッターが降りてるよ。
Sakumi, sorry, big sis, there's a shutter lowered. Yuki quickly noticed that.
本当だ。
You're right. What appeared to be a heavy-looking metal shutter was lowered on the other side of the glass door. It was hard to make out in the dim hall, but Sakumi thought it looked metallic. Yuki stuck her hand through a crack in the glass and tapped the shutter. It made a loud yet dull sound when she did, confirming Sakumi's suspicions that it was metal.
こんなものが降りていては、外には出られそうにありませんね。
For someone like this in place, doesn't look like we can make it out through here. Though she'd been expecting it, that revelation still shook Sakumi's heart. Check this out. But that hadn't been the cause of the grim look on Soichi's face.
何お兄ちゃん
Check what out? Yuki trotted over to Soichi. Mitsurugi? Nervous and curious about Soichi's attitude, Sakumi had no choice but to follow Yuki. See this? Soichi's pointing out a large hole in the shutter. Of course, the glass door in front of them also had a hole about the same size. And it wasn't just one. There were multiple holes of various sizes there. And behind the hole in the shutter was a concrete wall.
三剣さんこれ
Mitsurugi, this means... Yeah. Soichi nodded grimly. Looks like the ones who put us here have no intention of letting us out.
そんな
No. It wasn't just a shutter, but a concrete wall. It didn't budge no matter how many times they tapped on it. All that returned was firm resistance. That response told Soichi everything he needed to know about the people who trapped them in this building.
お兄ちゃんちょっと
Big bro, big sis, over here! The pair turned to Yuki, who was touching the concrete wall. What is it?
これ誰かが掘った穴があるよ
Look! Someone dug a hole here! Yuki pointed to a hole in the shutter. Soichi looked at it, ran over and looked at it, to see that it was a dent about 1 meter deep. Oh god. Soichi's face warped in horror.
三剣さん
They took this much, and they still couldn't get out? Soichi touched the dent as he squeezed those words out. It took Sakumi a moment to realize the utter meaning behind his words.
出られなかったってまさか私たちよりも前にここへやってきた人がいると
Wait.
そして私たちと同じようにここから出ようとした
Wait, does that mean someone else was here before us? They tried to escape just like us? Most likely. The dent was deep. It will take considerable time to dig it. It's more, the dent was caked in dust. In other words, it had been ages since it had been dug. But they couldn't get out. And the scariest part is that the dent hasn't been filled in. Soichi felt a shiver up his spine. Sakumi and Yuki just stared at him in confusion. Clearly, they had yet to come to the same revelation as him. What I'm saying is, that means the people here who trapped us don't think this dent poses any threat at all. A hole this deep doesn't concern them in the least. Where the concrete wall thinned, the dent would have definitely been filled in. It would be in order to prevent any escape. But if the wall were 5 meters so deep, that's a whole different story. The one Soichi and the others found themselves in now.
じゃあ私たちは
So that means... Yes. Can't get out from here. But even as those words passed Soichi's lips, he couldn't stop shaking. Little did the three of them know they were being watched.
こんなにすぐにチャンスが巡ってくるなんてな
I never thought I'd get a chance this soon. To the boy known as Yuji Nagasawa, Removing his collar by playing the game symbolized more in his own survival. I'm not all talk. I really can put up a fight. The gloom that had been stewing within him with each passing day had finally arisen to drive him. With his demure stature and lanky arms, everyone had ignored and laughed at him as a kid who was all bark and no bite. Just watch. I'll show you all. You small fry will regret making a fool out of me once you see this. Nagasawa wanted to prove it. His own strength, his own existence. For he could never bring in himself to acknowledge his own weakness. It was those twisted emotions that spurred him on in this game. The existence of this game was unknown to the public. A building of this size normally would have attracted much scrutiny. Yet Nagasawa had never heard about it before. Not even as a rumor on the internet. Furthermore, it was highly likely that whatever happened here stayed here. So Nagasawa quickly jumped to the conclusion nothing he did here would get out to the world outside. If he weren't in a place like this, he never would have considered trying to prove his own strength. That was how it had always been for him. He would constantly comfort himself with a variety of excuses on how it was the world's fault he couldn't display his strength. But the nature of this place gave him a chance to do just that. At that moment, there were 3 ideal targets right before him. And the only one who looked like a threat was the young man. The young woman and girl appeared hardly capable of putting up a fight. They were like sheep to the slaughter. To make things better, they were so focused on the sealed exit that they didn't notice Nagasawa creeping up on them. Thus, Nagasawa easily snuck up on Soichi and swung a metal pipe at his head with all his might. Die! Nagasawa shouted, a war cry. By the time Soichi heard it, he didn't have time to dodge. The pipe smashed into the young man, knocking him on Nagasawa's feet. Soichi felt an intense impact run through his head as Nagasawa roared. Right then, his vision grew dark and he collapsed to the floor. However, he'd been lucky in 2 aspects. First of all, he'd been so stunned by the implications of the hole in the concrete that his body hadn't been tense at all. Second, as Nagasawa wasn't used to fighting, he'd failed to hit Soichi with the part of the pipe that would have done the most damage to his head. Did you see that? Sorry, this game's gonna be a piece of cake. Did you see that? I'm gonna cross the finish line right from the very start. Nagasawa swung the pipe at Soichi again. I may not have killed him in the first strike, but he's as good as dead anyway. Nagasawa was so convinced of his own victory they couldn't stop laughing. Sakumi and Yuki were right next to him, but they were frozen with shock. Neither of them could stop Nagasawa. He was sure of it. Now die! But in the end, the goddess of victory turned her back on Nagasawa. Nagasawa had been unlucky in 3 aspects. First of all, contrary to his expectations, there was a rule shielding Soichi and his companions. Second, Nagasawa himself was unaware of that rule. Last but not least, this sort of situation had been set up precisely for someone like him. You have committed a rule infraction. Nagasawa's collar suddenly started flashing red. It was accompanied by an artificial voice from his PDA and collar. You have committed a rule infraction. You will receive your penalty in 15 seconds. Nagasawa's blood turned to ice at those words.
そんなバカな。俺はルール違反なんかしてないぞ。ルールに書いてある通り3人殺せって言うからやってるんだぞ。
No, this can't be. I haven't broken any rules. I was trying to kill 3 people like the rules said. Nagasawa's face paled. Dropping the pipe, he frantically took out his PDA. You have committed a rule infraction. All areas, without exception, are designated as non-combat areas for the first 6 hours. His PDA delivered the same message as his caller.
そんなバカな。そんなルール俺は知らないぞ。
That can't be. I never heard of a rule like that. Nagasawa only had rules 1, 2, 3, and 5 on his PDA. And as he's been all alone from the start, he was unaware of Rule 8, the most important one of them all. Had he known of it before deciding to commit murder, this outcome may have not come to pass. But this handicap had come not by chance, but deliberation. Rule 8 had been intentionally left out of his PDA. In other words, precisely in order to bring about this sort of situation.
なんだ。何が起こる。
What? What's gonna happen? Nagasawa's eyes frantically danced around the hall. His caller was still blinking and delivering the same message all the while.
ペナルティって何なんだ。
What's this penalty? Just then, something emerged from the darkness of the hall. What is that? Soichi sat up. His head still throbbed, but he couldn't hold still. With his assailant still around, he knew he'd be in more danger unless he got up. And what greeted Soichi's eyes was the sight of something coming out from the dark and piercing Nagasawa's arm. What? There wasn't just one. What the hell are these things? 3 more objects had emerged. There were 4 in total, piercing Nagasawa's body. Nagasawa dropped his PDA in pain. Wires? What's happening? There are 4 wires with what appeared to be small harpoons on their ends. They reached out from dark places and stabbed Nagasawa's body. I can't get them out! Forgetting about the wires, Nagasawa attempted to pull out the harpoons. But the tips of the harpoons were outfitted with barbs like those on fishing hooks, meaning he couldn't get them out without tearing his own flesh. The pain was simply too intense for him to even try it. Farewell, Yuji Nagasawa. You will serve a great purpose. Wait, what do you... Just then, high-voltage current struck Nagasawa. Electricity surged through his body, but his skeleton didn't become visible like in cartoons. His body simply started to convulse, as if he'd been hit with a seizure. Next, the air filled with the scent of grilling meat. Soon, Nagasawa's whole body began charring. It was clear he was already dead. He was still on his feet and his body was twitching slightly, but both were merely due to the convulsions in his muscles stimulated by the voltage. What stood there was merely the husk of what had once been a living, breathing boy. Only took a second for his body to be charred black. It's only taken a moment. That was just how intense the voltage was. But to Soichi and his companions, that moment felt like an eternity. All they could do was stare at the cruel sight of the boy's body burning. His flesh burst open, his blood vessels ruptured, and unidentifiable body fluid scattered from every part of his body, all while he remained convulsing on his feet. Finally, once that had stopped, Nagasawa slowly fell to the ground. Electrical burns covered him from head to toe, his weird muscles insulating the electricity surging through them. As a result, his muscles finally stopped convulsing, allowing his body to finally fall on the floor. The charred Nagasawa no longer twitched. Soichi and his companions were equally numb. It had been an end so sudden and so brutal that all they could do was stare at the body of their would-be killer. Their minds blank, they couldn't even entertain the notion of peeling their eyes off him. Their muscles were so wound up that they couldn't move even if they wanted to. That's why none of them noticed the new arrival rushing into the hall. Hold on a second. Okay, 1 second. Let's just save and go over the bets. Okay, there we go. Alright. 1 second. And we will continue. It was a pain in his cheek that finally brought Soichi back to his senses.
Oi, しっかりしろ。聞こえないのか?
Hey, snap out of it. Can you hear me? An unfamiliar male voice rang in Soichi's ears. Before him was the face of a man he'd never seen before. The man was gripping Soichi by his lapels, shaking him. The lack of oxygen brought on by his maneuver finally brought Soichi's attention to the man. Oh.
おい、俺の声が聞こえるか?
Huh? Hey, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Soichi nodded in a daze, still unable to process the situation.
あんな死体を見て混乱するのはわかるが、気をしっかり持て。一体ここで何があった?
I know you're in shock from seeing that body, but you've got to get a hold of yourself. What happened here? The man was in his mid to late 20s. That was what Soichi deduced from the man's demeanor. He had gaudy clothes and a hoodlum aura. A pair of sunglasses was all he needed to be a dead ringer for a yakuza. But at the time, Soichi didn't pay any heed to that. He was merely grateful for the powerful voice that brought him back finally. A body. With those words, Soichi recalled the events that just transpired a few minutes ago. At that moment, a flood of acid from the depths of his stomach shot up Soichi's throat. But he forgot all about it when he heard the familiar cry of a young girl nearby. Oh, right! Yuki! Sakumi! What about them?
落ち着けって言ってるだろ.
I told you to calm down. Soichi tried to get to his feet, but the man pulled him down by the lapels and forced him to sit.
お前の連れの女2人なら俺の連れが向こうで面倒見てる。うちだから心配いらない。
You were talking about your pals over there. My buddy's watching them. They're fine, so you don't have to worry about them. Soichi craned his neck to the corner where Sakumi and Yuki were. Just as the man had said, a middle-aged woman was tending to them. But
仲間のところへ行く前に俺たちにも教えろ。ここで一体何があったのか。
first things first, tell me what happened here.
あの女たちの前で話せない内容かもしれないと思ったからお前だけここに残してるんだ。
I figured there'd be some things you wouldn't want to say in front of those girls, so my buddy moved them away.
俺は向こうで女たちの話を聞いてもいいんだぜ。
Or should I ask them instead? Oh. The man stared at Soichi with a sharp gaze. His eyes were serious. He knew all too well the information Soichi held could make all the difference in his survival. Sakumi and Yuki. I can't force them to talk. Nor can I let them be questioned. Now when they must still be in so much shock. Alright. I'll tell you. Soichi decided to trust the man for now. What he'd said was true, and he could end up in grave danger if he remained uninformed of what had transpired. I've got to tell him that the rules in the PDAs are no joke. No joke. If you break them, you'll be killed like vermin. You see...
待った。
Hold on. The man suddenly held up his hand.
お前名前は？俺は手塚義光。
What's your name? I'm Tezuka. Yoshimitsu Tezuka. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, back. Sorry about that. Alright, I'll just repeat the line just so we have consistent. What's your name? I'm Tezuka. Yoshimitsu Tezuka. I'm Soichi Mitsurugi.
よし。じゃあ三剣教えてくれ。ここで何があったのかをな。
Okay then, Mitsurugi. Tell me what happened here. Right, Tezuka. And so Soichi explained the series of events that transpired in this hall to the man named Tezuka. After he finished explaining, Tezuka, who had kept quiet the whole way through, nodded to himself.
罠にルールに殴りかかってきたボスね。
So the kid who broke the rules was done in by that trap, huh?
状況は大体分かった。それでお前を殴った坊主の PDA はどうなった？
I think I've got it now. So I'm to that kid's PDA. I think it's lying around here somewhere. But why do you ask?
気づいていなかったのか？ この PDA ルールがバラバラに記録されていて1台じゃ全てをカバーしていねえんだ。
What, you didn't notice? The rules are split up across the PDAs, so you can't figure them all out with just one.
PDA の数が多ければ多いほどいい、そういうことさ。
So the more PDAs, the better. Simple as that. Tezuka turned around and approached the charred body. Soichi couldn't help but be impressed by the sight. This guy's got nerves of steel. I don't think I could walk up to a body so calm and collected. And he's a sharp one, too. I'd completely forgotten about the PDA.
あった。
Here it is. Tezuka crouched down and picked up a PDA. As the boy had dropped it before his untimely death, it escaped the baptism of electricity its owner had faced.
なるほどな。こんな条件じゃ殴りたくもなるか。謝ったな、小僧。
I see. No wonder this kid was so easy to get the drop on you. But he was too rash. Just looked down on the corpse that was charred so badly that they couldn't even make out the face anymore. Tezuka's face was a placid visage, unbesmirched by fear or anxiety. I tell you he's not feeling anything, but regardless, he's quite impressive.
三剣、とりあえずはもういいぜ。向こうが落ち着いたら今後のことを全員で話そう。
We're done for now, Mitsurugi. Once those girls have calmed down, let's all talk together. Soichi turned around, jerked his Tezuka turned around, jerked his chin to Soichi. He was indicating Yuki and Sakumi. They were huddled together and shivering all over.
手塚さん
Just then, the woman who'd been attending to Yuki and Sakumi came over to Soichi and Tezuka.
どうだったの
How did it go?
郷田さんよ。どうやら予想通り厄介なことになりそうだぜ。
Welp, looks like things are getting just as bad as we expected, Goda. Tezuka frowned. Tezuka, I'm going to check on the others.
ああ、なんとかしてくれ。冷たいようだがよ。そうしないと話もできない。
Alright, sorry. Sure thing. See if you can calm them down. I know this is a harsh thing to say, but we can't get talking unless you do. I understand. While indeed harsh, Soichi agreed with Tezuka. If the rules were for real, then they had less than 72 hours to act. They couldn't afford to lose even a single moment. Alright then. Soichi bowed his head and ran over to Sakumi and Yuki.
それで手塚さん彼はなんて
So what happened to him, Tezuka? The woman named Goda asked us as she and Tezuka watched Soichi go.
そこで黒焦げになってるやつはルール違反でこの建物の仕掛けに殺されたと。
That pile of charcoal used to be a kid who broke the rules and was killed by some sort of mechanism in this place.
本当なの
Really? Goda looked at Tezuka with a mask of surprise. Tezuka nodded to her and continued.
ああ、さっきの坊主、三剣を鉄パイプで殴ったらしいんだが、全域の戦闘禁止が解除されていなかったせいで、首輪が作動しちまったらしい。
Yeah. Seems like it hit Mitsurugi, that kid I just talked to. But because the whole place is still a non-combat area right now, his collar activated.
ということは
So that means...
冗談じゃねえぞ。
This ain't a joke.
こいつに記されていることは 全部真実と考えるしかない。嘘が混じってるかもしれねえが、それを試して死ぬのはごめんだからな。
I can only mean what's written here is the truth. Maybe there's some parts that aren't, but I sure as hell am in no hurry to try it. Tezuka glared at his PDA menacingly. His face was cast in irritation.
手塚さん
Well, oddly enough, to Goda, Tezuka appeared to be somewhat excited. It's those eyes. Those eyes brimming with life. Like he hasn't been truly alive until this moment.
危険がないと生きられない男か
A man who can't live without danger in his life, huh?
なんか言ったかい？
You say something?
いいえ何も他に何か情報は
No, nothing. Did he tell you anything else?
あるぜ。あいつが言うには、
Sure did. See? So Tezuka told Goda everything he heard from Soichi. Once Yuki and Sakumi had stopped crying, they sat down in the circle of Soichi and Tezuka's group and began exchanging rules. For good or for ill, the boys' death had granted them 6 PDAs, being able to learn nearly all 9 rules. This is horrible. If these rules are for real, then we're as good as dead. Tezuka gripped the PDA in his left hand so hard it creaked. His right hand, clutching Yuki's notebook, trembled slightly. He shook not with fear, but as the greatest indicator of his surprise. Yuki's notebook contained a list of the rules. Soichi had written them down as they'd been confirming the rules. Normally, a man in hoodlum clothes holding a pink mascot notebook would be a humorous sight. But no one was in any mood to laugh. Not with the wave of shock and fear that had come with their comprehension of the current situation.
この最初の6時間は戦闘禁止っていうルールが終わったらどうなるか
I wonder what will happen once the initial 6-hour combat restriction is up.
残りの12人のうち何人がそこで死んでいる子のように戦い出すことか困ったわね
Perhaps some of the remaining 12 will seek fights just like that dead boy. What a conundrum. Yuki and Sakumi's faces froze over when they heard the words, "that dead boy." Though they stopped crying and snapped out of the confusion that had taken hold of them, they still hadn't completely recovered from the shock of witnessing that gruesome scene. Those two are taking it worse than me. With that thought in mind, Soichi gently took hold of the girl's hands. Neither appeared to notice, but Soichi decided to keep on doing it for a while. And what's more, there's the problem of rule number 4. Soichi returned his issue to returned his focus to the other issue on their hands. As long as we don't know what it is, we can't take any actions in full confidence. Even with 6 PDAs, he still didn't know the 4th rule. That was why it was blank in Yuki's notebook. As such, they couldn't afford to act rashly, lest they end up sharing the dead boy's fate. But Soichi didn't dare say that last part. Not with Yuki and Sakumi still so shaken.
でも大体内容の想像はつくわ
But I can wager a guess as to what it is.
どういうことだい、ゴーダさん。
What do you mean, Goda? Goda pointed to the last entry in the notebook.
9番目のルール解除条件の一覧のところに何度かジョーカーって文字が出てきてるでしょ
In rule number 9, the list of release conditions, they mentioned something called a Joker several times, right? Oh yeah, now you mention it. Even Soichi had puzzled over it when he'd been writing down the rules. Both the 2 and 6 required something called the Joker to fulfill the release conditions, but it hadn't been mentioned anywhere else.
でもジョーカーについての説明はどこにもない。だからね、4番目のルールがそれなんじゃないかって思うの。
But we didn't see an explanation about the Joker. So you see, I think that's what the fourth rule is.
4番目のルールにはジョーカーの説明がされていると。
Explanation of the Joker?
私はそう思うわ。
I believe so, yes.
なるほどな、ゴーダさん。そいつはありそうな話だ。
Now I get it. That sounds plausible. Let us stare at the blank spot where the fourth rule should be. His lips curled into a faint smirk.
仮にそうだとすると、書き込まれてそうな情報はジョーカーの使い方、あるいはそれを持っているとどうなるのか。
And if that's
その辺のことだな。
If that's what it is, then tell us how to use the Joker, or what will happen if you have it, or something. Is this guy actually enjoying himself right now? Flickers of fear danced in Soichi's heart when he saw a look on Tezuka's face.
だからおおよそのところでは、今分かっている8つのルールだけを指針にして行動しても問題はないように思うんだけど。
So even if we're not entirely sure about it, I don't think it will be a problem if we act under the guidance of these 8 rules.
手塚さんと三剣さんはどう思うかしら？
Tezuka, Mitsurugi, what do you think? Goda continued talking the same expression as before. Either she hadn't noticed Tezuka's behavior, or she was ignoring it. No, maybe I'm just letting doubt get the better of me because I saw someone die and confirmed the rules.
その辺はある程度賭けになるんだろうが、俺はその意見に賛成だぜ。少なくともじっとしているわけにはいかないんだからな。
Though it's still a bit risky, I agree with you. At the very least, we can't just sit around here all day. Same here. We need to find a way upstairs if nothing else. If the rules were true, then the first floor would become a forbidden area eventually.
とはいえ、まだ万が一ってことはあるから、軽率な行動は取れない。
Still, we need to be careful. We have no way of knowing what will happen.
仮にルールを全部把握している奴が戦いを仕掛けてきたとして、俺たちは反撃できるのかって心配もある。
We also need to worry about if we're even allowed to defend ourselves in the event someone with all the rules attacks us.
俺たちは4が分かってないんだからな。推測だけで行動してうっかり死んじまいたくはない。
I don't want to die just because I jumped to conclusions about the fourth rule and acted without thinking.
そうね。できるだけ早く4つ目のルールを把握しなくてはならないわ。
Good point. We need to figure out the fourth rule as soon as we can. Golden nodded. Tezuka rose to his feet.
ということだ。俺は行くぜ。
Well, that's that. I'm going now. He had made off for the closest exit.
手塚さん、
じっとしていたらまずい。そう言ったはずだぜ、俺は。
Remember what I said? We can't sit around all day. Not without pinning a target on our backs.
待って手塚さん、この子たちを置いていくっていうの？
Hold on, are you just gonna leave these kids here? Goda tried to stop Tezuka, but her words failed to even slow him down.
俺はこんなわけのわからない状況で他人の心配なんてしていられないね。自分のことで精一杯で。
I can't afford to worry about others when I don't even know what's going on. It's hard enough watching my own back. Tezuka casually waved his hand with a waved his hand and smiled. The smile sent shivers down Soichi's spine. It was a cold, yet sympathetic smile.
恐怖にすくんで動けない女子供を連れていても足手まといだ。そんなことは分かってるんだろ、大田さん。
If they're too scared to move, then those girls are as good as dead weights. But you already know that, don't you, Goda?
それに考えてもみろよ。単なる足手まといならまだしも、裏切りの可能性だけは一人前にありやがる。
Besides, think about it. Being dead weights is bad enough, but having the capacity to stab you in the back is a total deal breaker.
俺はそんな連中を連れ回すほどの楽天家じゃねえ。
I'm not welcoming enough to keep runs like that in my company. Yuki and Sakami sat with their eyes trained on the floor. In Tezuka's eyes, there were nothing more than dead weights that had to be cut off. Right before he reached the exit, he stopped and turned back to the others.
三剣、てめえはどうする？そのままお手手つないで仲良しごっこか？
What are you gonna do, Mitsurugi? Keep on holding hands and leave yourself open to a knife in the back? I'm... Soichi could understand Tezuka's point. Regardless of what Soichi himself thought, it was do or die. Since the rules were for real, he would be putting himself in danger if he didn't act soon. But though he got all that, Soichi couldn't bring himself to leave. Not when the hands interlocked to his own were still shaking. Like hell I could abandon them. I'll be damned if I do. Soichi's grip only grew tighter around those two hands.
まあ好きにすればいいぜ。俺には関係ねえことだしな。
Well, no skin off my back. You do you. Tezuka turned around as if to demonstrate he truly didn't care, and resumed walking without missing a beat.
待って手塚さん。
Wait, Tezuka. Goda quickly got up just as Tezuka was about to leave the hall.
三剣さん、私は手塚さんを連れて戻るから、あなたはしばらく二人をお願いね。
Mitsurugi, I'll go bring Tezuka back. So could you watch out for those two? Got it. Goda wasted no time pursuing Tezuka. By the time she took off, he had already vanished from sight. Goda gave Soichi and the others one last glance and ran out the same way Tezuka had left. With that, Soichi, Yuki, and Sakumi were all alone in the silent hall yet again. Alright, COP, look away if you don't want to see spoilers. Alright, we're back. So yeah, if anyone who played the original Killer Queen may have noticed that the opening song just now was the opening from the original game. That's fun, they brought it back for the final route. Alright, let's go over the bets. Okay, and now let's continue. 6 hours have passed since the start of the game. Thank you for your patience. Combat is now no longer prohibited in all areas. Drawn to his PDA by an alarm, Soichi read those words off the screen. So the time has finally come. In the end, Tezuka and Goda hadn't returned. Soichi would have given up on them and gone on the move sooner, but Sakumi and Yuki were still too shell-shocked to move. So the three of them just wasted time sitting in the hall until they learned the non-combat restriction had been lifted. Now what? If we don't get a move on quick, it's only a matter of time before we're... Right as Soichi looked to his companions, Sakumi finally broke her long silence.
三剣さんも言っていただいて構わないんですよ。
Mitsurugi, you should go on without us too. What? Do you even know what you're saying? Sakumi's remark had left Soichi flat-footed.
あの人の言う通りです。私たちは足手まといです。
That man was right. We're just dead weights.
あの子が死んでルールが本当だって分かってるのに足がすくんで動けないんです。
That boy died, and we know the rules are true, yet I still can't move.
このままだと首輪が作動するって分かってるのに何もかも恐ろしくて仕方がないんです。
I know our calls will activate unless we do something, but I'm just so terrified of everything. Yuki nodded.
さくみお姉ちゃんの言う通りだよ。お兄ちゃんまでここにいることはないよ。
Yeah, Big Sis Sakumi's right. You shouldn't have to stay here for us, big bro.
私とお姉ちゃんは動けそうにないから置いていっていいよ。
I don't think Big Sis and I can move, so you should leave us. Are you out of your minds? Soichi was overwhelmed by surprise.
だってお兄ちゃんこれからは何人もさっきみたいに攻撃してくるんでしょ。殺しに来るんでしょ。
But big bro, a lot of people are gonna attack us just like that guy, right? To kill us, yeah?
私には無理だよ。そんなのと喧嘩しても絶対負けちゃうもの。
I can't do that. I can't be peeled like that in a fight. Not ever.
言ってください、三剣さん。私たちを連れて行ってはできることもできなくなります。
Please go, Mitsurugi. You can't do anything with us slowing you down. Sakumi and Yuki were fully aware of the gravity of the situation. That was why they were convinced they couldn't survive. They were sure they'd be killed before they fulfilled their conditions. And so they implored Soichi to go, leave them and go, because they believed he had a chance of making it on his own. Soichi sighed and let his body relax. Then I guess we'll all just have to stay here. Without any warning, he flopped onto the ground. He stretched his limbs out as though he were relaxing on his bed. He'd been so tense this whole time that it actually felt good to lie down. Boy, am I tired.
お兄ちゃん
Big bro?
どうしてですか。私たちのことなんていいんです。三剣さんだけでも言ってください。
Why? Please, just go. Forget about us and save yourself. He heard two teary voices. After he heard them, Soichi rolled on over to Sakumi and rested his head in her lap. From that angle, he looked directly into Sakumi's eyes, which were trained right back on him. You guys are really overselling me. You don't think I'm scared?
だって三剣さんはずっと頼りがいがありましたし余裕があるように見えますから。
Well, you've been so dependable this whole time that you just seem really calm.
そうだよ。お兄ちゃん強そうだもん。
Exactly. You look really strong. Yuki crawled over to Soichi and started looking down on him too. Soichi laughed as he curled his hands into fists. He then lightly tapped the two girls on their foreheads. Of course I'm not! I'm putting on a brave face because I've been with you girls, but in reality, I'm so scared that I can't take it. Especially of leaving others behind. Particularly when it means they'll die. If I abandon them, it'll just be that day all over again. It's not happening. Never. So the least you can do is stick with those two until the end, Soichi Mitsurugi. You're dead men walking either way. Soichi had the ace of spades. His release condition was, kill the owner of the queen. the way you do so is irrelevant. Even if the rules were true, Soichi could never kill another human being. So he can never move his collar in accordance with them. It's wrong to assume I'm brave just because I'm a guy. My legs are shaking like crazy, too. He was being completely honest. His legs have been shaking since his near-death experience, since he's seen that boy's brutal demise. So even if he did leave Sakumi and Yuki behind, he'd be likely to curl up in a ball on the floor. So could you guys let me stay here too? I don't want to wander around all by my lonesome. It's more comforting to be with two others. Besides, my head is so comfy right now. And I can never leave Yuki behind. That's just ridiculous.
剣さんそういえばお兄ちゃん根性なかったよね。
Now you mention it, you were a big coward, weren't you, big bro? Contrary to Sakumi's gloomy visage, Yuki chuckled lightly.
最初に私と会った時もすごく驚いてたし、でもそうだよね。
Hold on a
お
second.
兄ちゃんも怖いんだよね。
Okay, back. Let me continue. You were so surprised when we first met. I guess it's true. You really can get scared just like us. I'm fully aware that I'm pathetic deep down. Soichi closed his eyes. She used to push me on all the time too, didn't she? She's always getting in my case. Don't be lazy, don't be sly, put up with it. But this is the one time in my life I can't be that way. Leaving these two when I already have a death sentence is simply out of the question.
剣さんは死ぬのが怖くないんですか？
You're not scared of dying, Mitsurugi? No, I still am. Soichi answered with his eyes still shut. But there are things that scare me more than that. Dying is much easier in comparison. If I have to kill someone and abandon those two just to return to that hell of a life, then it'd be so much easier to die here. Soichi's mind was made up. So I'm gonna stick for you guys. That's the best way for me. Soichi opened his eyes. He was greeted with two pairs of wavering eyes adorned with smiles. The two silently watched him for a while.
ゆきちゃん。私もそれがいいと思う。
Yeah, I think that'd be best too. The girls nodded at each other, but Soichi didn't have any idea what it was about. What are you guys talking about?
すみませんでした、剣さん。私もゆきちゃんもちょっとどうかしてました。
We're sorry, Mitsurugi. Yuki and I weren't thinking straight.
やっぱり首輪を外したいなって思って。ちょっと怖いけど。
Yeah, it's a bit scary, but I really do want to get these collars off. The pair formed identical smiles and looked down at Soichi once again. Encouraged by that sight, Soichi finally sat up. Then I'm coming with you. To remove their collars, they have to get going after all.
それは一人でここに残るのが嫌だからですか？
Because you'd hate to be left alone? Yep. I'd be bored to death all by myself. Soichi finally got to his feet and reached his hand out to the girls.
そうだね。忙しい忙しいってうちのパパはいつも遊んでくれないんだ。それに知ってる？一人で食べる晩ご飯って美 美味しくないんだよ。
You're right. My daddy's always too busy to play with me, so I know how that feels. Besides, don't you know? Food never tastes good when you're eating alone. Yuki wasted no time taking Soichi's hand and getting to her feet. Yeah, it never does it?
でしょ？
I know, right? But Sakumi didn't take Soichi's hand right away. She just stared at it for a while. Sakumi? Sakumi jolted to start at the sound of her name and looked up at Soichi. Her face was beet red.
なんでもありません。
Oh, it's nothing. Sakumi looked down, and after much hesitation, took Soichi's hand. Up you go. What's wrong, Sakumi? Though confused by Soichi's behavior, Soichi still helped her to her feet. However, he was quickly assaulted by a feeling of deja vu that drove out all other thoughts. This happened to her and I once too, didn't it? Sakumi had taken Soichi's hand and stood up. Much like how there had been a time where she had taken Soichi's hand and done the same. They may have totally different personalities, but there are times where it almost feels like she's back here in the flesh.
それでお兄ちゃん、これからどうするの？
So what's your next move, big bro? But Yuki's words snapped Soichi out of his stupor. Damn it, Soichi. Now's not the time to get distracted. Soichi let go of his companions and quickly took out his PDA. Sakumi looked at Soichi's hand with longing, but the only one who noticed was Yuki.
へへへ。
Yuki looked back and forth between Soichi and Sakumi and giggled playfully. Okay, checking bets. Alright, now let's continue. By the time the group found the elevator, Sakumi and Yuki had begun to regain their spirits about them.
エレベーター来ないね。
The elevator isn't coming, huh? You'd think it would be. There's a floor indicator on the top. It seems the electricity's running.
もしかしたら壊れているのかもしれませんね。それとも上の階で誰かが止めてしまっているのか。
Maybe it's broken? Maybe someone stopped it on one of the higher floors? They were no longer talking all gloom and doom, and slowly but surely the cheer was returning to their faces. It really was for the best that we got away from that body. Soichi was relieved to see them like that. Sakumi? Yuki? Are you sure you guys are okay after all this walking? Aren't you tired?
平気だよ。
Nuh-uh.
私も平気です。でも、みつるぎさん、少し休んでから行きませんか？ゆきちゃんは歩幅も狭いですし、あまり無理はしない方がいいと思うんです。
I'm okay. Why don't we take a little break anyways, Mitsurugi? Yuki's legs are smaller than ours, so we shouldn't push her too hard. Yeah, good thinking. Let's do that.
そんなに心配しなくて大丈夫だよ。
Come on, guys, you're worrying too much. Irritated, Yuki puffed out her cheeks. They looked like an overinflated balloon.
これはゆきちゃんだけのためじゃないのよ。ね、みつるぎさん。
We're not just doing it for you, right, Mitsurugi? Yeah, she's right, Yuki. We need to rest while we still can. Huh? Soichi rustled Yuki's hair. He grinned slightly at Yuki's reactions. As long as we're assuming the rules are for real, we'll have to keep walking for the next 3 days.
3日間。
3 days. Yuki counted up the days on her fingers. Apparently she hadn't considered that. If we keep resting every time we get tired, we won't make it that long. So we need to rest out as much as we can before that point.
そっか。うん3日もあるんだよね。お兄ちゃんとお姉ちゃんの言う通りにするよ。
Yeah, you're right. That'd be a real pain for 3 days. Okay, let's take a break. Yuki nodded with understanding. Soichi and Sakumi then watched and proceeded to sit down on an old bench in the elevator hall. Sakumi turned to Soichi with a smile. She nodded gracefully as if to say, "We made the right call." That's right, Sakumi. Soichi smiled back, and Sakumi went over to sit right next to Yuki.
なんだか
You know... Yuki swung her feet back and forth. She looked nostalgically up towards Soichi and Sakumi.
どうしたのゆきちゃん。ね
What is it, Yuki?
えお兄ちゃんとお姉ちゃんって本当にここで初めて会ったの？
Hey, is this really the first time you guys have met?
そうですけどそれがどうかしたの？
Well, yes, but what about it? Sakumi gave Yuki an inquisitive frown. The younger girl stared at her companions before continuing.
なんだかお兄ちゃんとお姉ちゃんは仲が良かった頃のパパとママと同じような感じがして。
Well, you guys just remind me a lot of my mommy and daddy, back when they used to get along. When they got along? So that must mean they're going through a rough patch right now. Soichi was troubled by the dark underlying behind Yuki's words. Wait a second. Now that I think about it, Yuki did mention her father was too busy to go home. Which is why she has to eat alone a lot.
じゃあ私がママでみつるぎさんがパパなんですか？
Does that make me your mommy and Mitsurugi your daddy?
そうそう。
Uh-huh. Yuki joyfully took Sakumi's arm and leaned against her. She looked like a daughter being spoiled by her mother. So that means her parents don't get along or are never at home. Her father's busy with work. And what about her mother? Soichi could make a few educated guesses, and none of them were particularly pleasant. Do I really act that old? Thus, Soichi made sure to sound as cheerful as possible as he took the remaining spot on the bench at the opposite side of Yuki. Yuki was now right in between Soichi and Sakumi.
おっさんくさいんじゃないよ。
Of course not. Yuki started chuckling.
そのくらい仲良しに見えるってことだよ。
It's just that you two seem to get along so well. She took Soichi's arm the same way she did Sakumi's. She smiled with content bliss, her face positively beaming.
あら、じゃあ私って子持ちに見えるんですね。
Wait, does that mean you think I look old enough to have a daughter?
違うよ。
No. And so Yuki spent the entire break from beginning to end in a good mood. Okay, just checking the bets. Alright, there. The casino's main monitor displays a zoom-in shot on Yuki. It was taken from the security camera positioned in the elevator hall in anticipation of someone taking the bench. This allowed for a perfect up in front clear shot, as opposed to the bad angle distant shots they're usually forced to make do with.
この子はエースとクイーンのおまけだと思っていたが、ここへ来て急に注目度が上がってきたな。
We only consider this girl a hanger-on for the ace and queen. Wallace has done absolute wonders for her popularity. The dealer, the supervisor of the game, looked down to the casino from the control room. Yuki was mediating in Soichi and Sakumi's relationship. As a result, she'd had an astronomical skyrocket of bets on her. Her adorable looks and innocent actions were netting her a great deal of popularity.
あの子が苦しむ姿を見たいのかな、やはり。
So they really want to see that girl suffer, do they? The dealer's mind ran into overdrive as he rapidly considered the possible actions to adhere to the customer's request.
他の参加者に比べると子供っていう身体的なハンデがあるから毒関連の武器を渡すのも面白いかもな。
Her age puts her at a considerable physical handicap compared to the others, so it may be interesting to give her something poisonous. The dealer brought up a list of weapons, selecting ones Yuki would be able to use.
ああ、そうか。暗殺用の武器とかでもいいんだよな。あの子でも使いやすいだろう。
Oh, of course. An assassination weapon would be perfect for her. He selected an assassination weapon in addition to the poison. There are many weapons such as those that even the girl of Yuki's size would have no trouble concealing.
よし、こんなところで。
Good. We'll go with the... Just as the man was about to finish his check, the door of the control room burst open with a loud roar. Oh, sorry, yeah. Just the sound of the door opening. Yeah,
責任者はいるか。おい。
Hey, where's the supervisor? The uninvited guest was a gentleman in a tuxedo, somewhere in his 40s or 50s. Isn't that Mr. Kaneda from the Supreme Board of Directors? Supreme Board of Directors? What's he doing here? Supreme Board of Directors. They were high-ranked members of the organization who ran the game in the casino. There were 9 of them, and they also directly managed and controlled the organization. Though they were all subservient to the organization's boss, the organization had grown far too big for one man or woman to run it all alone. As such, the boss had requested 9 members who understood his thoughts and wishes like they were his own. Likewise, the boss respected the Supreme Board of Directors' decision as much as possible. He was clearly aware the organization wouldn't last if he intervened too much.
そこにいたか。
Oh, there you are! Kaneda ran for the dealer the moment he spotted him. What's going on here? Kaneda was known to be a relatively mild conservative. He served as the organization's chief accountant. He was well known for being an agreeable man of calm disposition, but that didn't show up anywhere on him now. There wasn't a single trace of that person found on the pale-faced man gasping for breath with sweat glistening on his brow, running like a madman.
これは金田様。このような場所へわざわざご足労を。
Well, if this isn't Mr. Kaneda, what a pleasant surprise to have you grace us with...
挨拶なんていい。大変なんだ。
Forget the greetings. We're in deep shit. Kaneda firmly grabbed the dealer with his trembling hands. The action conveyed his panic clearly to the dealer.
いかがされましたか、金田様。
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Kaneda?
あの子だ。
That girl! Kaneda pointing out the window of the control room, right at the casino's main monitor.
あの子
What girl? The main monitor was still showing a close-up of Yuki.
どうしてあの子が参加しているんだ。
Why is that girl participating?
どうしてと申されましても、プレイヤーですから。
Well, because she's a player, of course. What's so odd about...
お前、あれが誰なのかを知っているのか。
Do you have any idea who she is?
は
Huh? Kaneda's behavior only served to confuse the dealer. She's just another player, just like the others, right? What's all the fuss about?
あの子はな。
That girl is... But when Kaneda told him the truth behind the girl, the dealer was so shocked that he almost fainted on the spot. Okay, so we have reached where I had originally gotten off last time, so this should have completely covered the redo of this episode. Hopefully I managed to turn out right this time. But yeah, so you can see Nagasawa met a rather gruesome end. Tezuka seemed a bit more cordial to Soichi at first, but then went off on his own and go to the left as usual, using him as an excuse. And fortunately, it seems like Soichi's managing to keep a good atmosphere of Sakumi and Yuki. But as we saw in the ending there seems to be something weird surrounding Yuki. So we'll just have to see where that leads us. So that's it for this time, and until next time, I'll see you all later.